yesterday we talked about immersions, which is basically Android apps running on glass, but using glass style of interface, and also using some of the features of GDK to interact with the timeline as well. So immersion was already quite complete enough. I mean, immersion itself is a glassware, what to say. So although it doesn't sit on the timeline, you can still have the consistent user experience with other glass interfaces. So I think immersion is a good way to go. So again, as mentioned yesterday, I think I didn't put the slides for today here, but if you try to go back to yesterday's slides, I think it was around. So again, live cards, compared to the live cards we are talking today, immersions will give you extra control with all access to all the user inputs. So that's a good feature of immersion, and also it's better for interactive experiences compared to live cards, which has limitations in terms of interaction, where you cannot really do much touch interaction on the first live card, but mostly just displaying something, and then you have to tap once to get more interaction. So, by the way, the slide and the project I'm going to use today is up on the shared folder, so feel free to download them and follow as I continue. So today, live cards native are, today I'm going to talk about live cards, and it's basically a native glassware sitting on the timeline. So it's pretty much the same what we've talked yesterday. It's a native Android app, but the difference between the immersion which we covered yesterday, live cards sits on the timeline, especially on the left side of the timeline, and as you've learned before, left side of the timelines are about currently happening, about the events currently happening or something going to happen in the future. And might get updated quite frequently compared to other cards on the right side of the timeline, which are record of the history, the past. So how does the live card works compared to immersion? So compared to immersions, which are those are mainly consists of activities, just like the Android apps. Live cards are a little bit different in terms of its structure. It's actually run a service running on the background rather than driving the whole application in the foreground. And what it actually shows to the user is actually the timeline interface itself. So it's the timeline interface provided by the system, but your app is asking the timeline interface or the timeline module of the operating system to give you access to some portion of its drawing view. So in some sense, it's quite similar to widgets in Android phones. So if those who are familiar with using Android phones, you can also put some widgets on the home screen while the app is actually running on the background, and you can see some updates on the home screen, like weathers or some news feeds and sort of things. So in some sense, live cards are quite similar to those type of Android apps. And it runs on the background. And since you're not really taking over the control of the view on the glass, it's actually, although you can draw quite a lot of things on the live card and you can update it as frequent as you like, the interactivity is quite limited to only typing interaction. So you cannot really do various types of gestures within the live card itself. But the trick is you can actually trigger your own activity when that live card is tapped on. So in that sense, although as the live card itself you cannot have that much of interactivity in terms of touch interaction because it will be consumed for swiping to another card. Can still have that tapping event to call your own activity so that you can take over the whole control again, just as it was in the immersion. And although you cannot have that much interactivity in terms of touch interface, you still can have other types of interactivity such as motion event. So still, since the service is running in the background, you can still access the low-level Android devices such as motion sensors and location sensors and sort of things. So even the camera. So so you still can have more interactivity going on than compared to the static card, where you mostly just do tap and swiping interaction for menu selection. So let's get into details about how to create a live card project. So it starts, again, it's an Android application, so it starts quite similar as immersion. In fact, the way you create a project is actually identical. So you create a project with SDK version of API 15, which is 4.0.3. And then, but you compile it with GDK sneak peek because you'll be using some features added by GDK onto Android SDK. And again, you go with no theme so that the glass theme could be applied. And again, I would like to remind you that the Eclipse has a bug that even if you choose no theme when you create a project, it actually adds a theme as a default. So you'll have to delete that theme from the manifest, as I've mentioned yesterday. So, but again, this time, your main activity is not actually what will be shown first on the screen. And instead of, but it's still worth to create a main activity because the way, let me go back to this diagram. The way live card works is that once you tap on the live card, it will be able to trigger one of your activities so that users could do something. And usually that activity is used for menu. So live card, to make it similar to the other cards, other static cards, it's a kind of a standard way to show the menu when you tap on the live card. So in this case, for the live cards, the activity you create would be working as a menu activity rather than the main activity. Of course, you can name it as a main activity, but use it as a menu activity. But usually it's more less confusing if you just rename it to menu activity, or even name your activity as menu activity when you create the project. And you'll have to do one more thing, which is remove the launcher and main intent filters from the manifest, because by default, when you create a project in Eclipse, it assumes that the first activity you create is the launcher, which is launched at the beginning when the app is started. So you'll have to remove those when you are going to create a live card project. And then what you'll actually do is add a service component, which will be the main component, back to this diagram, which is this part, so that you could ask the timeline to create a live card and get an access to the live card to draw something on it and control, set it to call your menu activity when it's tapped. So let me go through these step by step. That actually, I think if I open it, I think it will open it up. Yeah, I can choose one. So I'll choose class demo, which was the workspace I was using yesterday. By the way, for those who are not much familiar with the Eclipse environment, you'll be asked, or you can switch to another workspace, which is basically a group of projects you can group together. And the good thing with that kind of workspace is that you can have different settings for each workspace, and if you have a group of projects that you want to keep them separately. I have to reload it. There we go. And another tip, I'm not sure if it's only my system, it's fine now, but sometimes the Eclipse doesn't recognize this GDK when you reopen Eclipse. So sometimes what you'll have to do is, if you see any errors when you first open up the Eclipse and you see an error on especially GDK projects, then what you'll have to do is you go to right-click and go to Properties and Android, and you'll have to switch back to 4.open3 or another API, and then come back to and then set it and do it, reverse it by choosing the glass development again. Then that will make the errors go away. So maybe it's only my Eclipse doing that, but just to let you know so that you won't panic. So let's create a live card project. So you can create a live card project by clicking New and Android application project, just as the same way as you created immersion project yesterday. So then I'm going to create a live card sample project. My application will be called live card sample. And just do live card sample. And then again, you choose 4.1.3 as minimum required and target SDK, but you compile with Glass Development Kit. And for theme, we'll go with none, but again, we'll have to delete that default theme inserted. And then you click Next. You can create a custom launcher icon if you want. So I'll still create an activity to use it as a menu activity, and then click Next. For the launcher icon, maybe today I'll choose, I'll be accessing some sensors and locations, so maybe some icons that's maybe I'll create a map icon to show my location. Then you can change the color later on as well, but usually it's better to have white color, which looks nice on the glass. And you'll create a blank activity again, and if you press Next, you can name the activity. It's better to name it menu activity this time. And you can leave it as a main activity and change the name later on, but it's easier if you change the name first. Then you click Finish. So live card sample has been created. And if you run it not right now, it will have no difference from other immersion applications. So it will just launch the default first activity you've created. So for live cards, we don't want to do that. So we go to the manifest, and we have to delete some things. And the first thing is to delete that theme again. Inserted by default, but we don't want to really use any themes, but to use the default theme on the glass. And the other thing we have to remove is this intent filter, which says this menu activity we just created will be launched when the app starts. So we don't want to launch any activity. Although, if you really want to have your app work in that way, like if you want to have a live card with a mixture of immersion, and you want to launch the app as an immersion and create a live card later on, then maybe it's also a good idea to use the main activity as your immersion part of your activity, your app, and then create the live card later. But we'll not do that today. So we'll just remove that intent to use it as a live card, menu activity. what we'll have to add here is actually we'll have to add a service that will make your app run as a service at the beginning. And the tags you'll need is, if you go back to the slides, so it's this tag you'll need. So service has certain features like name, which is basically the class name you'll be referring to as a service. And then you can have a label, but doesn't much matter, usually same as the app name. And you have to make it enabled, and export it. Exported means it's visible to other apps or the Android system, and you can make it enabled from start. And these features are actually easily accessible in Activity as well. So name label you can copy from here, and paste it there, and you will still. And we are still missing with the class. We will change this to the service class later on, but maybe we'll just name it like now, live card service. Then again, we haven't created this class yet, so don't panic even if you don't know what this is. And then the other thing was you have to have enabled and exported. So you type Android enabled true, Android exported to true, so that other system can see. And again, since you want your live card to be launched by voice commands, in the voice trigger at the OK Glass prompt, you can add the same voice intent here as how we used for the immersion class. So I'll just go back to this Hello World class project we did yesterday as an immersion, and open up the manifest and copy this intent filter, the voice trigger part we've used for making it launchable from the voice trigger. So I think this part, if you see your source code having not looking good format, then you can click source format, then it will make it a bit more nicer for you. So here we go. Still, we are missing this voice trigger. If you remember from yesterday, we had to define an XML document that defines what word you have to say when you are launching it from the OK Glass menu. So we'll create an XML file. XML resource. Go to, oh no, I'm on the wrong project. So this is live card sample. Go to the resource folder and create an XML file. Again, resource reference to resources are usually folder name and / the file name without the extension. But in this case, it's in the XML folder. We can easily assume it should have XML. So you click the res folder, resource folder, right click and click new file. Then type in voice trigger _ trigger.xml, and that will create an XML file. Uh-oh. Sorry, I did the wrong thing, didn't I? I should have created XML folder first, sorry. And create a new folder and then XML, because XML files has to go inside the XML folder. Then you click the XML folder again and create a new file inside it. Sorry for my wrong. So right click, new file, voice _ trigger.xml. All right, and since I'm lazy to type everything, I'll go back to the project we had yesterday for immersion, and we had the same XML file here, didn't we? So we can just copy this XML header and the trigger tag, come back to this live card sample, paste it there, and this was just a simple XML with one tag that says what you want to say to OK Glass prompt to launch this app. So this time maybe I'll call it live card sample. I haven't tested this trigger word, but maybe we'll give it a go. Live card sample. So, and by the way, there are standard voice triggers that you will have to stick to if you want your app to be on official Glassware website. But for development, you can use whatever voice trigger you want. So that's there. So again, just to recap what we've done so far, we've deleted the theme from the application. We've removed the intent filter that launches the main menu activity at the start of the app. Instead, we added a service, and then added the intent filter as for make this service to be launched by the voice trigger. So and then as a voice trigger, we created an XML resource. So just as yesterday we did with the immersion example, to define what word you want to trigger this application. So coming back to my slide, so that's all what we did so far. And what we were missing was we didn't create any Java class for this service. So we'll have to now create a Java class, which derives from service class, which is Android standard class. So I'll demo this in a minute. So it's as simple as clicking File, New Class, and then in the dialog you give the name of your service class, maybe Live Card Service or something like that. And then as a superclass, you assign the Android.app.service class as your superclass, and you'll have your class ready. And there are a couple of things you want to implement inside the live card service. So there are, just as the activity yesterday, we talked about some of the callbacks. You are called back when the activity is created, destroyed, and and when it's paused and resumed. The service also has those kind of life cycle callbacks as well. And the two callbacks we are going to implement for this sample is onStart command and onDestroy. OnDestroy, as you can easily imagine, it's called when your service is destroyed. So it's a great place to get rid of all the resources you have been spending. And onStart command is called when the service is started. So there is also onCreate callback as well, but that has some of the services are created more implicitly by the system. So it's better to have your all initialization code in this onStart command, which is called when the service is started explicitly. And in this function, what you'll have to do is create a live card and publish it, obviously, so that you can ask the timeline to create a live card and get the pointer or object to that live card so that you can draw something to that live card. And if the live card already exists, since you can launch your app a couple of times even if it's running, and since the live card is a service, it will not quit until you actually ask it to be quitted by usually using the menu command. So if there is a high chance that there might be another live card you have if your app was launched twice. So in that case, you'll have to have a choose between if you want to create another live card for your app or just reuse the live card. But unfortunately, I'll mention this. I'll mention this later on again. But the GDK sneak peek doesn't still has this feature which you can reuse the live card later on. So we'll unfortunately we cannot really cover that part for today. But we'll always assume you are launching your app no more than twice. But if it's launched twice, then we'll ignore it. So this is the code that we have to write. Before we go into that detail, maybe we'll create the class to make steps a little bit more easier to follow. So to create a class, you go to the source folder. In that namespace where your classes are, you just right-click, or you can access the same menu from file, but I'll just do it here. Right-click, new, and then class. So it will create a new Java class for you. Then we'll type in the class name as live card service. And then the superclass, if you click here, browse, then you can actually search for the superclass. And what we are looking for is the service. And there are a couple of service classes, but what we are really looking for is this Android.app, one in the Android.app namespace. Then you click that. Then you're done, so you click finish. And then there's your service class. And hopefully you've named this class as same as what you've named it in the Android manifest. If you go back to manifest, if you see that you had this class specified here. So you'll have to make sure both the namespace and the class name is the same as what you've just created in this class. So just double check if that's the same class. Okay, so now we have our service class ready. So there were two methods we have to implement here. So always a good way to override some method to save time is to click your source menu and then click override implement methods, and will make it easier for you to choose the method instead of typing everything. You can choose onStart command, which was called when the service was started, and we were going to choose onDestroy, which will be called when the service is going to be destroyed. So I click OK, and we have these two methods. And I'll put this start command before, or I'll leave it like that. No, we'll just leave it like that. Maybe we'll add code with it. So currently it's just does nothing but created a service. And if you go back, what we had to do to recap is to create a live card and publish it. If there's a live card already exists, we show it. Here's the code that we have to do. So I'll briefly go through how it should work in this onStart command method. You'll better have a member variable that keeps your live card so you can access it later, and check if that live card has been created already. If it has been already created, you probably want to show that live card immediately. But unfortunately, the GDK doesn't provide that API yet, so that's a pity, but we cannot really show you which method to call, but I can easily imagine could be like just one or two methods that you call to reveal, to show that live card immediately. And if you're creating a new live card, just as you created static cards yesterday, you just get the timeline manager, and then you ask the timeline manager to create a live card and give a tag. I'm pretty sure this tag will be used later on in this part to reveal that live card, but we're not talking about that right now. And then you get an object that represents the live card, and then you set it up with views that you want to draw on that live card, and the menu activity you want to have it on the live card. And then once you've set all the settings of the live card, what you do is just publish that live card so that it will be placed in the timeline. And there are two ways to publish it. One is there are two modes to publish it. We will be using this reveal, which will be immediately showing the live card as it is created. But there is also another mode that if your app falls into this kind of, prefers this kind of way to create a live card, which is silent, which creates a live card on the timeline but doesn't shows it immediately. But user will have to go to it later on. So maybe you might have seen this on the live card. Maybe it was the timer or something on the on the glass application that if you had said, okay, glass, start a timer, then you might see nothing changing on the screen. But that was using, I think that was using, I think that was the case. But anyway, in that case, if you see nothing on the screen happening, then there's a high chance that it created a live card, but it was using this silent mode so that maybe the app doesn't want to bother you doing other things, but create a live card on the timeline so that maybe that app was using this silent mode, and that's why. So always, if you are running on the user side, you cannot really tell if it's a live card application or so. But if you launched an app and it doesn't happens anything on your screen, then please think of there might be a chance that it created a live card, but it didn't release it. So these are the steps. So we'll be typing in this code right now. So we'll have a member variable, live card, and have a live card, and initially it will be a null. And of course, this we'll have to import a class here. So you click, hover your mouse over it, and then you just can click import that one. Be gone. And inside this onStart command, you check if your live card is there, and then create one. If it's null, then create one. Otherwise, you just ignore and stop. So we don't want to flood our timeline with a bunch of live cards, so we'll just stop it. But user will have to figure it out that there is already a live card and go there manually. And I forgot to mention this one, but you can delete it safely. What you have to return is type in service class, this base class, and then if you click dot, you'll see start sticky. This is kind of returning what kind of lifespan this service has to have, and sticky is to keep this service running on the background and whenever, and which is the behavior we want to have with the live card type of application. So in this here, we have to get the timeline object, timeline manager, sorry. Yeah. And I have to timeline manager from this. So this is using the same method we used for immersion adding static cards. So that doesn't bother you. Ask the timeline to create a live card. Then you give a tag. This is I think I called it live card. What did I call my project? Live card sample. Maybe I'll just call it sample. We won't be using this tag later on for now, but I'm pretty sure you might be using this tag here when the GDK gets improved. And then you have, of course, this method. If you hover over it, by the way, you can get, you might already know, but if you hover over some codes, then you'll get some help. And it might at least tell you what method. So it's actually live card class. No, we did have this live card variable, didn't we? So we save that live card to our member variable to use it later on. And then what we'll have to do is set up this live card views, and then also set up live card menu. And then what we'll have to do is to ask this live card to be published. And if you remember, there is a 2 mode that we can choose from, publish mode dot reveal. Right? So then that will be published. We didn't set it up yet. I'll explain how to set the views and the menu as we go on. So we just did this, what I explained before. So everybody good up to this point? All right, let's continue on. So, and then once that's only the on start part, and on destroy, of course, you'll have to wrap up everything you had. So maybe it's better to unpublish that live card and get it rid of from the timeline. So that's exactly what we'll do here. So coming back to here, we had this on destroy method already. So we just, and we have this timeline as member variable. So what we have to do is just call livecard.unpublish. That's all we have to do, but to make it safer, we can check if live card is actually null or not, or if there is live card, and sort of things you can check. And then sometimes there could be a live card object, but your app has crashed after creating it, but hadn't published it. So you can also check if live card is published as well. But anyway, that's just managing for safety. So that's, maybe it's also good for setting it as null. That's a good idea. Live card null to prevent further calls happening. So so that there we have all the codes we have to do handle when the service starts and then the service is destroyed. You create a live card, publish it. When it's destroyed, you remove it. And then what we've skipped was how to set the view and the menu system for this live card. So I'll be explaining that part. So there are two methods to set your views, the live card, and it's depending on your use case of your app. So if your live card is going to render, update the information on the screen less frequently, let's say every few seconds, then you can choose the simpler way to implement it using remote views, but it has a limitation in terms of the type of the view you can use inside that remote view. So, even if your app is doesn't need that frequent update, if your view includes some of the type of views that are not included in those that remote view supports, then maybe you'll have to fall back to the second option. But in most of the case, like text labels, images, image view or progress view, and many of the view and most of the layouts that is used in most of the case is supported in the remote view. So it's most of the cases always easier if you use this type of approach. The second approach is usually good when your app has to update it quite frequently. Like if you're running on game app and if you have to have like 20 frames per second or more real-time update of the screen, then this is the way you might want to go with. But in this case, you'll have to write more code, but you'll have more flexibility with this. And in short way, how it works is you have your drawing code here, and these drawing codes are all the same as the Android draws on a view or a surface. And the way it works is your live card will create a surface and then give you back a surface callback, surface holder callback, so that you can draw something in that callback. So we'll go a little bit more detail into each of those. So for low frequency rendering and for the sample code, I'm live coding step by step. we'll be using this simpler one. So what we'll have to do to set up the view for low frequency rendering approach is to create a remote view. So the way you can easily create a remote view is just to create a remote object with remote view class, and give your package name, which is basically the namespace you used for creating your app, and then the layout that you'll be using for this live card, and that's all. And then you tell the live card to set views to this remote view. And again, this layout can contain text view, image view, linear or relative layouts, progress bar, etc. If you want to have the whole list of the views, then please go to this link down here. It has the list of views supported. So, but I'm pretty sure most of the views you might want to use will be already there. And then, so that's how to set that live card, set it. And how to update that remote view is you'll have to set it again. So the way is you can either create another remote view that you want to change with, or reuse the remote view you've already created. That's also can be done. And set some of the properties of the views inside. You cannot really use find view by ID or sort of things that you did with the immersions or standard Android app here, since this remote view is really just creating a remote view and sending that data to the remote application. So it has a special methods such as in case of text view, it is set text view and you give the ID of that text view resource you've created, and you give the new text that you want to put in the text view. And then once you've updated or created a new remote view you want to update with, you call the set view to the live card again, so that and then your remote view will be sent to the timeline, and timeline will update the view as it is available for updating it. So, and for more details about these types of commands that you can use for updating remote views, please refer to this website here called Remote Views. I cannot really go down, so please refer to the slide up on the shared folder. So anyway, it's there. So maybe we'll do this first and move to the next. So what we'll have to do in here is to set up live card views, and all we have to do is create a new remote view. So maybe it's we'll just remote view, and it doesn't know our class. So if you press Control Shift O or Command Shift O, then it will import the proper class. So make it easier. Remote view. And then what you had to pass was, even if you don't know what this construct does have, I'm not sure why is this not showing me proper. Maybe I'm too much dependent on this. But anyway, what we'll have to do is just call get package name. So if you type this, then dot, then it will show you the methods of this service class, but later on you can delete them. And then you'll have to put this resource here, resource ID here. But we haven't created any layout yet, so maybe we'll create a layout first. And we'll just leave it as it is. Then you'll have to tell the live card to set views to this remote view we've just created. All right? Did I did wrong?
I think it wants remote views with these.
Yes, that's true. Sorry. Yeah, it's remote views, not remote view. My fault. Yeah, that's why it didn't show me the. Yep. thank you for that. So usually what I wanted to show you before was if you don't know what to put in this constructor, if you hover over it, then you can actually choose from different constructors that you can choose from. And if you click it, it will add default skip package name. And from there on, if you hover it over again, the method, then it will explain what parameters are, so you can easily get some layout. We're going to have some layout here, but we haven't created yet, so we'll leave it like that. And maybe we'll create the layout first and come back. So to create a resource, layout resource, again, same as what we did yesterday. You can go to resource folder, go to the layout folder, and right-click, click new. And then this time, it's easier if you click Android XML file, because these has some tools that you can use. And then in the Android XML file, you can create a resource layout and name the layout. Maybe we'll live card view. Or we'll just call it live card. Then you can choose different layouts. You'll go with relative layout here. Then, so this is the name of your file. Choose the relative layout, which is easier to move over the sub elements, and then click finish. Then you'll have that XML file again. And if you open it up, again, as we've mentioned yesterday, if you have set up your device configuration, then you can go and choose your Google Glass configuration. It will default into the screen size Google Glasses. And from the theme, still you have to get rid of these default bars here. So you can go to theme, device default, and then low action bar, full screen. Then it will give you clear full screen view of that preview of that layout. What we'll do is drag some text views. So I'll drag one text view in the middle, like that, another one, the bottom, like that. And of course, you can use different different layouts, such as linear layouts, and group them together to make it look nice, but I won't be doing those. I'll just make the size a little bit bigger so that we can easily see on the glass. Maybe I'll go with 20. This text view is typed there, so I'll line it again. Then text size again 20. Maybe I'll make it a little bit closer to each other. Okay, so we simply have two text views here. We'll update some values here. But for now, to just show you what I'm going to do, I'm going to update locations here. So maybe it's a good way you say waiting for locations as a text, so that the user will not panic if he doesn't see anything. Why is this keeping going there? I think it's because it's missing something, but I'll leave it there. And this one, I'll be showing some sensor information. And again, this graphical layout, you can see the original XML view here. Of course, you can set the properties from this property editor here, but sometimes it's easier and more clear if you go there and check the stuff. And what I was trying to do was, this one is aligning to the top of the parents and center it horizontally. This one is centering it horizontally and aligning it with, it's below the text view one, so that's fine. And maybe we'll just change the IDs so that we can refer to it later on. So we'll change it to text view location. And this one is text view sensor. All right. So we have this layout now. So And since we have this layout, we can go back to the class we left and the error and say resource.layout, and we'll be using this live card layout. Okay, so once you've done that, where were we? Yep, once you've done that, I think you can actually run it, but unfortunately you cannot close it because we haven't implemented menu item yet. So I'll just show you what happens if you run it right now. Android screencast, oh. So running it is the same as what we did so far and same as other Android apps. You just right click the project, choose the run as, and then run it as an Android application. Then if you look at the console, error in XML file. No, I think that's the previous error it had. There we go. Then I choose my class. Then it's installing the live card APK. Success, done. And this time it doesn't happen anything on my glass screen because obviously we didn't have the launcher activity. We removed that intent to launch an activity, so nothing is launched, but our app is there. So to launch that service, we've put that voice trigger. So if I say OK glass, then now I should see the live card somewhere. Live card sample. Oh, that's listened to. Maybe I chose the bad phrase that can get confused. OK glass. Yeah, definitely there is live card sample. Live card sample. Oh, we picked it up. All right, and then it will create a live card, and hopefully it doesn't crashes. I think it's gonna crash. Hello. No, didn't did the job. I'll try it again. OK glass. Live card sample. Let me try the other. OK glass. Where am I? Yeah, it's working, definitely. Then maybe it's a good idea to have a look at the logcat, see what we've done wrong. Service discovery failed. Oh, no, that's Bluetooth. Okay. Doesn't test other. Why is it stuck? Publish. Published it. Yep, that's true. Sorry, I had to implement the menu as well. That's true. So, unfortunately, you cannot really run, publish the live card without menu. So, we'll have to do that first. Sorry about that. I'll show you that in a second. We'll go through the setting up the menus first and then come back, try to launch it again. Okay, so again, that's how to do add remote views. We'll update this view later on, so we'll skip that code for now. And if you're looking for high frequency rendering, which might be good for gaming application or real-time status viewing application, instead of setting the views, which was here, you can see we set the views, calling set views, and then pass the remote view. What you'll have to do is actually create another object, which is called direct rendering object. And by the way, if those who are familiar with Android coding, it's direct rendering callback in the GDK is actually a subclass of surface holder callback. So with just one more method. So don't worry too much about what class that does if you already know how to use service holder callback. But anyway, the thing is that you'll have to create a callback that the system calls you back when you have to render something, and then you ask the live card to be set to the direct rendering, be enabled, and then you ask the live card to get the surface holder. The surface holder is kind of a resource in the screen that the Android system can draw something on it. So they call it surface. So the surface holder, and then add that callback you've created to that, and then you can publish the card later on, of course, with the menu. So that's the code has to be replacing the set views code. But the main thing is that you'll have to implement this rendering callback. And this rendering callback, what you'll have to do is, again, this direct rendering callback is a subclass of rendering surface holder callback, and the only difference is it adds this rendering post method, so that your callback could know whether your live card has been swiped out from by the timeline, so that you can save some resources when it's paused. So usually the surface callback has a couple of callback methods, calling your class, like the main thing is the method called surface created. And then you'll be passed with the surface holder, where you can grab the canvas out of that holder and draw on it on a separate thread running on the background, so that you can update the views as frequently as you want. But we're not going to demo in this sample application for now. So I'll show the code later on once we've done with this sample code with a little bit more complicated one. So we'll just wrap it up in that detail for now. Again, we'll have to have a menu to actually add the live card. So what we'll have to do is to tell the live card what it has to do when it's tapped on. So again, the live card as it is, you cannot really do much of touch interaction with it. Only thing you can do is tapping on it. And the usual way the live card has to reply to it, I mean to handle it, is when the user taps on the live card, it should better show the menu so that the user can choose different menu items. And how we do it is, again, the menu in live card is a separate activity, as we created at the beginning. So all we have to do is actually create an intent to start that activity and pass that intent to live card to call it later. So the code we have to put in is create an intent, similar to what we did yesterday with immersion when we called voice recognizers or other activities. Again, here you create an intent, pass yourself as a context, and then the class name of the activity. And then you'll have to add a couple of flags here to the intent, such as new text and clear text, which is required by the Glass operating system, or even the Android operating system, to make sure your activity is launched separately. To explain a little bit more detail, since your menu activity is actually triggered by timeline service, so the activity, the menu activity is actually created separate in a separate way from the timeline, because you might want to have an access to that in your own app or together with your service. So that's why you'll have to set this flag to creating a new task, and then clearing a task is if there is a menu activity already running, then it will clean up that task and create a new menu activity. And then once you've got that intent to create a menu activity, the thing you'll have to tell the live card is live card to set an action for tapping, and then you pass this intent, and And there is a slightly different way you have to pass it, not as a pure intent, but as a pending intent, which is usually used in Android programming, where you want to have this intent called by another process or another application. For, in this case, another system app, which is the timeline. So we'll go back to our code and first create an intent. So we are setting up the menu intent, we'll call it menu intent, and then new intent, sorry, and pass this, and again, if you want to, and then we already had one activity here, although we did nothing with it, so that's menu activity here, activity.class. You'll have to pass the class, not the name. Close it. So once you got that intent, you had to set some flags. Set flags, and then some of the flags were and what was the keyword? Flag activity new task and flag activity new task. Where is it? New task. And then also you OR it with flag activity clear task, so that your activity will be always created newly. And then what you have to tell the card is set action, and of course it receives pending intent only. So you can easily imagine that you have to create a pending intent. But of course, pending intent doesn't have a default constructor. So if you hover over that pending intent, it will show you, first of all, I have to import it. It doesn't have a constructor. Maybe I'll have to type, oh, sorry. I completely did it wrong. You actually don't create it manually, but you get it from the activity, because we already have the activity set with the intent. So you create a request code with intent. It's the second one we might want to use, which receives only one intent. So for the context, we can pass this request code again. If you remember from yesterday's examples, when you are calling another activity, you usually pass the request code, so that when you have a result from that activity, you can be called back, so you can know which activity you were calling it. So you can pass whatever value you want, but maybe we'll just go with 100 for now. You can go from 0 to whatever number you want. And then you pass the menu intent we just created. And for the flags, we'll just have no flags for nothing. So again, back to my slide, I used 0, 0 for my slide, but 100 for my request code. That does nothing. All right. So once we're there, you can right-click. I'm pretty sure now I can actually run it. So sorry for the confusion I caused last time. If I run that and put it on, it will get installed on my glass, but nothing will be running because we don't have any default launcher. I'll have to close it. So there's nothing running on my timeline here. So OK glass, live card sample. So as you can see here, it started. Oh, sorry. As you can see here, it started and shows this layout we've just made. Looks slightly different. Maybe I'll have to tweak it a little bit more. But anyway, as you can see here, it sits on the left side of my timeline. If I scroll it slowly, you'll see it more easier. It sits on this left side of the timeline. It's like And then even if I swipe it down and leave it, swipe it down, it actually doesn't stop, because if I go back there, it will be still running on the background. So again, this is how the live card behaves. So until you quit it explicitly, it will be running on the background. But since there is the first thing you can really do, the only first thing you can really do is tap and open up the menu, and we didn't implement the menu to close the service. If we tap on it, it will actually launch that activity we created by default. So it will say hello world because that was created by default when we created the project. But we cannot really do menu interactions here. So if we swipe back, it goes back to the live card, but we cannot really quit it. So we'll keep it running there, and hopefully we'll create a menu for quitting it and come back and kill it. So that was how we kick up the menu activity. Now we will actually have to implement that menu activity. So what does the menu activity does is, by default implementation, for those who are puzzled with why did hello world appear there, I'll show you a little bit why it did. So the reason why it did was inside your menu activity, if you go there, by default, it sets the content view to this default layout it created. If you look at that layout here, it's actually, it has a hello world tab there. That was why it showed up that when I tapped and expected to have the menu out there. So what we really have to do is remove this call to set content view so that we won't have anything other than the menu. But we, instead of that, we'll have to show the menu immediately as soon as that activity is called. So for that, and obviously we'll have to have at least one menu item that will be used for closing or shutting down that live card. And when that menu item is selected, we'll have to call stop service so that we can stop our background service for that live card. And again, the menu is not shown by default inside the activity. So you'll have to add a code that when the activity is shown on the screen, you open up the menu items immediately. And as you can, if you recall back from yesterday, we didn't have to change anything with the menu, but compared to the Android standard options menu, the glassware will take care of, make it look like glass standard menu items. So maybe we'll do that right now. So we'll go back to this menu activity and try to remove this set content view so that it will show nothing on the screen. And the other thing I wanted to do was actually, and it's already creating options menu by default, so that's good. It also created a default menu item for me. So if I go to the resources and go to menu, there is a default item it already has set. So I'll have to just edit them. So I'll call it action stop and leave the other items, and then set the title here to stop. So I've just changed the ID here, and then changed the title, which is shown to the screen, so that it makes more sense that this item is stopping the service. If I come back to this menu activity, it's pretty much the same how we did yesterday. So you'll have to override some of the methods. Go to source and then override implement methods. Then you choose, you'll have to look for on options menu item something. So if you scroll down further, on options menu item selected, then implement that. We'll choose one more thing right now to save time, which is on resume. On resume is a life cycle callback that is called back when your activity is shown on the screen. So maybe it's a good place to actually show the menu system right away when it's shown on the screen. So when item is selected, we can check if item's ID is our ID action stop, which we defined in the XML. Then what all we have to do is call this stop service and the intent name. So how did I stop the service? Yeah, yeah, but I think it was simpler than that. Sorry, maybe I'll have to cheat a little bit right now. By the way, the final project is up on the shared folder. So if you are willing to cheat like me, then you can download it. So I think it was simpler rather than passing the intent. Maybe I'm wrong. Got puzzled. Menu activity. Let's see the final thing. Yeah, it's actually creating the intent and passing the class name. Sorry, maybe I was too lazy to do these things. So you again, like calling new activities, you just create a new intent. And how did I pass? Just this, right? Pretty sure it's just this, and then class name of that service, live card service dot class. All right. So, and we didn't imported this yet. So there we go. So once that menu item is selected, it will stop the service and passing this intent, which designates that live card service we've been running on the background. And then the other thing we had to do is once these activities, as soon as this activity is shown on the screen, we had to call open options menu. Please don't be confused with the context menu, which is usually open when an object is tapped on. So we just immediately call, maybe better after the resume, so that everything is handled beforewards. And then it will show the menu. So if you launch it again and go back to our, hopefully it will force stop on my service, and then now I'll have a menu item to stop the live card. All right, is it still running? Yep, good. So it stopped because Eclipse uninstalled my app and then reinstalled, so that forced it to stop. So if I say OK Glass, live card sample, and you can see still doing nothing but just showing my layout. And if I tap, it will open up a menu item. I only have one item, so I can not really scroll, but at least one's there. And if I tap on it, it will disappear immediately. But if I tap again, and you'll see in my timeline there is no more service running there. So another thing I forgot, I keep forgetting quite a lot of things this morning. Sorry about that. I'll demo it again. OK Glass, live card sample. And the thing was, even if I tapped on stop, it didn't immediately stop the activity. Are you with me? So the blank screen here is actually not my glass has went back to waiting mode or sleep mode, but my menu activity is still running. But our menu activity didn't show anything. So if I tap again, it will show my menu again. So the thing I forgot was as soon as stop this service, you'll have to finish your stuff as well. So that it will not keep running as an emergency. So you'll have to stop your service, but also you'll have to finish your activity as well. Otherwise, your menu activity will be still running, and will make no sense if you run the menu activity. So coming back to my slides, and yeah, I forgot to explain this. You have to override the on options menu closed and then finish. But you can also finish it right away as well. Oh, actually, this is the correct way to do it. On resume and on options menu closed. By the way, this is you can easily imagine if you put it here, you'll have to put it there whenever, if you have more than one item, then you'll have to call them again and again. You can do it in that way, but a much more safer way is to just simply have it in a different callback called source, implement, and then, by the way, there is nothing wrong if you just call it finish right away, but just to make the codes more manageable, if you can create on options menu closed, there. Override this. This method will be called when your option menu is selected and it's closed, so that maybe it's a good place here you actually finish your activity. And whenever you handled something like a callback, if it returns the Boolean here, you can return true if you have handled that item, so that the system will know that you have processed that item. The reason why I've just mentioned this was, I'm not sure if you heard it, but when I chosen that item, it gave me a sound feedback saying I canceled, my menu item was not selected. Like usually it has to make clear ding sound, but it made some error sound. So this was why causing that problem, because I didn't tell that I handled that menu item. So sorry for a couple of things missing, but I think that's all I've covered with menu implementation. One additional thing you can do is actually make the menu activity transparent. So let me compare it with other samples here. OK Glass. Start a timer. Maybe it's OK. Sorry. OK Glass. Start a stopwatch. So this is a kind of, can't see there, sorry. There we go. This is a live card that's a stopwatch, which is actually on developer website sample. And this is a stopwatch here. And if you see here, if I tap, you can see that this menu item is kind of transparent on the background, and you still see the live card updating on the background. But the one we've just created, which is OK Glass, live card sample. And in this case, if we tap on it, you can see that it's opaque and it doesn't show the live card running on the background. So if you want to make it transparent, and this is kind of recommendation by Google that you make it transparent, is to simply add these tiles to your resource, and in your manifest you add this tile so that your menu activity look transparent. So I'll skip this since it's not necessary, although it might not look transparent. We'll just skip this for now, but the project on the shared folder will have this set properly. So the last thing I would like to demo for now is creating this live card with counter. It's already almost 11. And this shows how to update the live card or the remote view later on. So if we go back a couple of slides back and go back a couple of slides up to, where was it? Yep, low frequency rendering. You can see here that whenever you want to update your remote view, you have to go through this step where you either create another remote view or reuse the remote view you've set initially and then update some of the content and trigger the update by calling set view again. So what we could do here now is go back to the live card service. And then so what we'll have to basically do is do this again. So if we copy this and create another method, private void update view, then put it there. And for now, you can keep this as you can keep this object as a member variable. Then you won't have to recreate it again. So maybe I'll do it that way. So I'll put it up here so that I will keep that remote view and then update it later on. So coming back here, I won't have to create it anymore. Remote view, but I still have to update it to more. Remote view, then update set text view, then give the ID of the text view. I think I'll just update one of those, which is location. ID text view location. And then you put an update here. Updated string. And then the other thing you would like to do is, since it's running on the background and usually live card updates needs to update the live card quite frequently. A couple of things you can do is if you can run a thread that runs on the background, another thread, and keeps calling this method. Or another thing you can do is use a timer, which is an Android utility or Java utility that you can keep making some process happening over and over again. But for now, I think I'll demo, for this demoing purpose, I'll just do it from the menu for time being. So if I do this, sorry, maybe I'll change the course to, yeah, why not? I'll actually show you how to do the timer stuff, but we're running out of time, so hopefully Mark doesn't bother. I'm spending 10 more minutes. So we can have a timer object, and this is a Java utility that can run something on the background and call every couple of seconds or every 10 seconds. And the good place is to be in onStart command, of course. So maybe you've done everything. You start a timer here. New timer. Then I'm sure the timer won't have. Okay, and then if you hover over the timer and click here, you might have different, actually didn't have to. schedule a timer's task. And then you can schedule different tasks in different ways. And one of the method I'm looking for is this method specifically, which is giving it a task and then giving it a delay, how much, and that means after calling this method, it will delay for that much of milliseconds. And then I have another argument that is period, that it will keep doing that task periodically. So for the task, we'll have to have a new runnable. And then for delay, maybe I'll update it every second. Afterwards, I'll run it every second. And the runnable has no unimplemented methods. So this runnable is just like a small chunk of codes that we want to schedule. So why is it?
Class has to be a timer task.
Timer task. Okay. Yeah. Yep. I think it has to be timer task, but it should be the same as this method. Should be the same. I'm pretty sure. Methods. Yep, it's the same. It's actually, I think timer task is a subclass of runnable. Sorry about that. And then whenever you run it, you update the view, okay? Update view, hold the update view. Or did I hold it the wrong way? Yep, update view. Then what it will do once its live card is started, it will start a timer and then call the update view after 1 second and update it every 1 second afterwards. And to make it more visible how it's getting updated, maybe we'll have an int, and whenever we update, we increase it and make it a little bit more simpler, shorter string, and then plus that integer so that we can see the number increases every second. Okay. And one thing I didn't do was stopping that timer, so I'm pretty sure, or if you want to follow and stop that timer later on, you can do it on destroy, of course. So timer, I think it's cancel, and then you also call timer purge to cancel all the tasks it had. Then right click, run as Android application. Nothing will happen on the glass, but I'll have to start the service. Okay, glass. Live card sample. And this time, as you can see here, it gets updated every second. And we still have this stop command, so we can stop it, so forth. So that's how to do updating. So now I'll quickly go through location and sensors. I'm not going to go through much detail because basically it's the same as Android SDK. But for those who are not familiar with Android SDK, please refer to the project I uploaded on the shared folder. It has all the implementations there. For now, I'll just explain the brief outline of how it works. So for locations, you'll have to, it's quite simple. You have to set up a location manager. It's basically getting a location manager, calling your one of the APIs to get the object to the location manager. And the location manager, how it works is it has certain set of providers. In terms of provider is how the modules on Android system that provides a location to your object. And Glass might have different providers. It's same as the Android phone, as Android programming as well, but for Glass, it's much more important that you are aware of different providers, because for the Glass by itself, it relies on the network provider, which identifies its location using the Wi-Fi network. But in some cases, if it's paired to the Bluetooth phone, then it could receive the location information from a remote device as well. In that case, the provider is remote. So you can identify what kind of provider is currently available on the glass, and you'll have to go through those providers and ask them to give you update with the location. And how to listen to those updates is to set up a listener. If you remember from yesterday, I didn't explicitly explain it, but listeners are basically interfaces that are a set of methods that you are called back in your object. So anyway, you ask that providers to call your listener object whenever the location is updated, and your listener object will be given the location that was updated as well. And one thing you'll have to be mind of is for location, it is quite sensitive with privacy issues. So you'll have to state that in your manifest file. So you'll have to add a tag in your manifest file that your app requires this access to this location manager. And the way how it works with the permission is if you don't state it, your app will crash, first of all. If you state it, whenever the user installs your app, it will show you what kind of permission this app requires so that your end user can be aware of your app is using the location information. So this is code for setting up location manager. You call this method passing you want a location service, and you get the location manager. You define a criteria, what kind of providers you are looking for. And then you ask the location manager to get the providers, and it will, of course, pass you back a list of providers, since there might be more than 2. And you go through those providers and ask for each providers to provide an update to your location listener. And your location listener might look like this. You create a new location listener. And there are a couple of callbacks here, but we don't care of those right now. But you can use, it will pass you the location here whenever it's updated. And in this object, there is properties such as latitude, longitude, so that you can use that in your app. And once you're done, of course, you'll have to ask the location manager to remove you from update. And this is the permission that you'll have to copy to the manifest file. There are 2 types of permissions you can choose from. One is find location. And usually this always works since it all covers all the types of locations. But if your app with find with, and if you want to tell that your app is not requiring find accurate location, then you can actually have this coarse location as well, which is usually only applicable for when you are only listening to Wi-Fi or cellular-based tracking. I'll skip the live demo and do it all together with sensors. Sensors, it's pretty much the same with the location. Sensors available on the glass are these types of sensors: accelerometer, gyroscope, magnetic field, and basically light. But these gravity, linear acceleration, rotation vectors are also code-wise provided as a sensors, but it's actually grabbing all the information from here and doing some filtering, and gives you a little bit more clean information through this type of sensors. Motion sensors are updated on this part of the glass, this movable part of the glass. And as you can easily imagine, since it's movable, it's not always aligned with your user's head. So you might want to be aware of. And unfortunately, they don't still have the method to track this angle here. So hopefully it's not too off from where your user is heading. And one thing you have to be aware of is you have to be aware of the battery life. So of course, you might have to want to listen to the sensor updates only when it's necessary. And please be aware of you can ask the system to update in certain frequencies, like 50 times a second or 20 times a second. Usually please stay with minimum frequency so that you don't run out of the battery life. And sensors, especially motion sensors, return you usually vectors. Like if it's the gravity, it will give you back a vector where the gravity vector is relative to your device. And this is the coordinate system that vector values are filled in with. Using sensors, quite similar with location information. You set up a sensor manager, and you ask what type of sensor you want to use, and then you set up a listener and ask to start listening, and then once you're done, you skip it. It's basically pretty much similar code that you did with the location, so I'll skip through this, and since we're running out of time, I'll maybe demo the final version and just show you how it looks like. Okay, class? Where am I? So this is how it might look like when everything is put together. So this location information is updated every now and then, and especially when you are moving. And again, it's definitely a live card. It sits on the timeline. And then you can see that I'm listening to the gravity sensor. So it's saying it is in which direction? Y direction. So I think it's the axis is a little bit flipped. If I move this way, you can see that gravity of 9, that it's going to the x-axis. If you look downwards, we'll move to the z-axis and so forth. So, and even if I close it, it will be still running. Since it's a live card, you cannot really stop it until you actually tap on the menu and then tap on the close, and it will be now removed from your timeline.
So the latitude and longitude is coming from a paired device?
No, it's from Wi-Fi.
Oh,
So again, you'll have to be aware of there could be different devices. So in this case, I just asked if you.
So if you were to use flying,
actually.
you'd have to have a paired device in GPS.
Yeah, and actually, even if with the paired GPS, that type is actually called remote, not GPS. So officially, GPS is not on this device. So I think they had a chip in there, but somehow they blocked it somehow because earlier in the stage before they released it, while we were working them, they did have a GPS sensor. I'm pretty sure because we were developing a small software and we were not aware of that thing, so we just sent them a code that looks for the GPS sensor, and they said it was working, but maybe at some point they removed that for some reason. So there is no GPS sensor on this officially. So there we go. You can think of a little bit more making richer cards. We only mentioned about using activities as a menu, but you can easily imagine, since it's an activity, you can do one when user taps on one of the menu items, you can create another activity, as just we did in immersion. So you can actually have more. And in this activity, since it's an activity, it's pretty much the same as the immersion application that you can do here. So you can have a little bit more richer kind of live cards. Could be quite similar with immersion if you navigate down a couple of steps into the menu item, then could be like a immersion activity. There are a couple of samples in there. So if you choose File, New Project, Android Sample Project, and I'm pretty sure some of you have already done this, and choose the build target to GDK, then there are 3 types of live cards you can choose from. And these are all using frequent updates mode of the view. So it will help you how to use that. Again, it's File, New, Others. And then if you go to Android, there is Android Sample Projects. Then click Next. Then if you choose the GDK, then you'll be shown with options of samples you can create from. But only these 3 are actually GDK samples, and the rest is actually standard Android support library demos. So if I choose this Compass and finish, and it will create a project here so that you can go through and look at the source code. It's actually, I think this class already has Compass installed, so you can run it and see how it looks like. So to wrap up, GDK is mostly Android 4.0.3 and has some more additional APIs to be more friendly with Glass UI. It's still a sneak peek preview version, so again, like as I've mentioned earlier, with some missing features that you can reveal the live card already running, there could be some missing features, so please be aware of that. This is not the final version, and there might be some missing pieces, and especially since it's Android SDK underlying the GDK, if you cannot find any information or details about what you're looking for, the features you're looking for, there's a high chance that Android SDK might already provide those. So please don't forget to look at Android SDK as well if you are missing something or you cannot find details in GDK level. So far we covered Mirror API, GDK, and you can use both in a way that they interact together. And